All right, welcome everyone. Those who are joining us now on the live or will be joining us on a later date. Welcome. This is Deep Ministry. Thank you all for your support. Thank you all for your support. And also, Um, thank you for those last week was a lot of people really watched this live, and I thank you all. And I hope you have been blessed by these letters as I have, and we are reading the Christ letters. We're reading the Christ letters, and we're into the aspect of it where Christ is telling about what is the truth of our being? What is the truth about creation? What is it? And this is how deep we're going. And nothing is physical. Listen, our eyes only show us, I think Terrence Howard says 0.25% of what things really are. And so there's like 99% of what we're not seeing with the physical eyes. But one thing we know, we're not physical. This body is not physical. Um, we nothing that we see and think is physical. Everything is energy. Everything vibrates at a certain frequency. Everything has consciousness. Everything has consciousness. And every day, this word consciousness is meaning more and more and more. And today I sat and I'm like, I really went through what we read last week. And before we go into the reading, I'm going to talk about consciousness a little before, because we're going to see two words in this reading a lot: consciousness and intelligence. Consciousness and intelligence. And those who have been following the so-called woke community probably hear about consciousness a lot. And what is consciousness? Consciousness is all. That universal consciousness, it's everything. It's what we could call the source. And I know Christ breaks it down. It's probably the divine, let's say mother and father in equilibrium, in equilibrium. And that divine mother and father could be electromagnetism and electromagnetism. So electricity represents the father, and magnetism represents the mother. So consciousness, everything is conscious. Everything has a form of consciousness in it. Everything, inanimate objects, everything visible, and everything unseen. And that means everything has a source, the source inside of it, that God, we call it inside of it. Um, Another thing it says, um, conscious, it's infinite. This consciousness, it's infinite, it's eternal. Two dimensions of consciousness, the ones that we see visible and that the ones that we can't see. Um, the ones that's beyond our plane and one in the earthly plane. Uh, and yes, so there's a universal dimension of consciousness. And listen, consciousness, you could either say consciousness or awareness. The things that we are aware of, that is consciousness. Consciousness, awareness, and what else about conscious awareness? And this consciousness in that universal dimension of consciousness, as I said earlier, it's all stillness, it's all silence and stillness. That means it's in equilibrium. It's in equilibrium with the divine masculine and the divine feminine. We call them mother, father. We call it energy. We could say electricity or energy or our mother. our mother, our magnetism. So that's that universal dimension. So that's why you see when we meditate, so that's where we're tapping to the once we have a thought, we automatically out of that dimension. And thoughts are conscious. That's why our thoughts create the universe we're living in. So when we said we have to become conscious, we have to become more aware of who we truly are. We have to become aware of who we are. Listen, we're not this body. As I said earlier, we do not die. We're energy beings. And we talk about because our mother and our father is energy beings, and we take our being from them. We're energy beings. If we really die, we go back into that stillness, into that silence, into that universal dimension of consciousness where electricity and magnetism is in equilibrium. So we just like, it takes us back in, it takes us back inside itself. All right, so we're going to go deeper into this and intelligence. We're going to see intelligence. What do you mean by intelligence? It says, okay, intelligence is one aspect of universal consciousness, and it gives form. Christ mentioned it last week. I'm going to quickly go over it. That Father in heaven, when he mentioned Father in heaven, he's talking about that divine intelligence. And it's when we hear about intelligence, it's an aspect of that universal consciousness. All right. So I know when I started this channel, I didn't know I know I wanted to call it deep ministry. I didn't know I was gonna go into electricity and magnetic. I never know that. So come along with me. Come along with the ride. Let's get some knowledge. And all of this is to get understanding of who we truly are. And this was what Christ wanted to tell us when he was on earth. This is what he wants us to know. We can't receive the blessings. We can't receive the promises that Christ promised if we don't understand who we are. You know, like everything else, we have to, if we don't understand who we are, we're gonna be like, as the psalm says, the shaft that the wind driveth away. Everybody can pull us in so many different directions. But we have to have an understanding of who we are. We don't have to understand everything, but when we get this knowledge, then we can call on the source of our being when things come up and be like, Father, Mother God, what is this? And you don't have to say Father, Mother God. You could say the source of your being, you know. Those two people are the source. And they're not people, they're energy. That's what we're made up of. That's what we're made up of. All right, so without further ado, we're gonna go into this today. I'm gonna share and go into this consciousness, but I'm gonna do a little review before I continue. We're on letter 4A if you're following us. It's letter 4A. Okay, so this is what we read last night, and I went over a little on Thursday during my live, but I just wanna, it is so deep. Every time I read it, I see something different. So I'm just gonna start, just a quick review before we start tonight. So just as we mentioned earlier, it says all is consciousness slash awareness. Remember, all, everything you see, everything we can see, everything unseen is consciousness awareness. Um, The primary comprehensive nature of consciousness is awareness, is awareness. It is not possible to have consciousness without possessing awareness. All that you see, all that you touch, hear, feel, know is consciousness, awareness made visible. So we're all conscious. The goal is for us to be more conscious. We all have, um, it is for us to be more aware. We're all conscious. And when we say we're all conscious, we all have that divine spark within us. So we all are conscious. Conscious slash awareness is infinite and eternal. There are two dimensions of consciousness. I told you both beyond this earthly plane and within this earthly plane. This plane is the plane of matter, solid form, and the ultimate universal dimension of consciousness slash awareness can never be fully or truly unknown by an individualized spirit. Yeah, I understand. It is inaccessible, it is in equilibrium, it is the only source of all power, wisdom, love, and intelligence. So when we mention intelligence, we're still talking about that divine consciousness. The universal dimension of consciousness slash awareness is in equilibrium, in a state of silence and stillness, and where we're going to read tonight. And if you've heard about the Big Bang Theory, the Big Bang Theory, we'll see an interruption of this stillness, silence and stillness create that Big Bang Theory. And so everything was formed. It didn't happen overnight. This happened over billions of years. And it's going to give us an idea when we how things were created. Out of this universal dimension of consciousness comes sound, come color, come individualized form, and all visible creativity within the visible universe. Comes the sun, comes the moon, comes the star, comes the animals, comes everything. Out of the ultimate universal dimension of consciousness slash awareness in equilibrium has come all creation, all the various unseen dimensions of existence descending in order of spirituality from the very portals of the universal dimension down to the most ponderous vibrational frequency of inanimate earthly substances and beyond into unspeakable horrors, even the bad things. So even the bad things do have an anti-truth and lies. Everything has that divine spark. It is undetectably everywhere. For those who think in terms of atoms, you can say it is the space in the atoms. So we know we're made up of atoms. We are made up of those tiny atoms. And it says, even in the atoms, we have that um, consciousness is. And the nature of universal conscious is intent, inactive and in equilibrium. Therefore, universal consciousness is an infinite, eternal, limitless, boundless state of powerful intent, pristine, pure, and beautiful. And this intent is to express its nature. Universal consciousness nature intent is the allness of will and purpose, always locked in embrace. That's our father and our mother within the ultimate universal dimension of consciousness, awareness, intent. Universal will is the state of the will is in the state of mutual restrained with purpose. Both are in perfect equilibrium within the silence and stillness. So it's talking about universal will that we're going to know it's the Father, and universal purpose. We're going to know the Mother, the Father, or electricity, or Mother, or magnetic. Um, okay, so universal will is universal intelligence. And universal purpose is universal love, universally in equilibrium, in mutual restraint, out of which all things visible and invisible and human impulses have taken form. So Christ say here, when I was on earth, I made a distinction between your Father in heaven and your Father within you. So he says, when I spoke of the Father in heaven, I meant universal intelligence. I meant universal intelligence, and we just said universal intelligence, that's the will. That's the will. And not that the father is greater than the mother, but and he'll explain it right here. He says, because of the Jewish attitude to women, I only referred to this aspect of universal consciousness. Now, to you who are so aware of the equality of genders, I speak of father-mother consciousness. So he says, not because he used unit when he says um the king, so you said when he says the kingdom of God is in heaven, he's talking about the universal intelligence. Your father in heaven. When he says your father in heaven, he's talking about universal intelligence. He could have said your father and mother in heaven. He could have said that, but you know where he was. So he said, the father within you. You know where he was. So he didn't use mother. So now at this time where we at, when we understand that um the genders are equal, equality of genders in creation. So he's saying now, to those who understand that gender equality in creation, father mother consciousness in equilibrium within universal consciousness slash awareness, where father consciousness is universal intelligence and mother consciousness is universal love. The tool of father mother consciousness, that's what he'll use to create. The tool of father consciousness, creative energy, and this is the energy that we talk about. We could say everything as a consciousness, everything is energy. The tool for creation is electricity in a state of mutual restraint, equilibrium with the tools of mother consciousness, creative energy, magnetism. So when you hear about electromagnetism, we are talking about um, father mother consciousness being in equilibrium. So he says, because father mother tools electromagnetism is in equilibrium within universal consciousness, it will never be detected within space by scientists, no matter how they may probe space, no matter how they may probe space. And I was thinking today that the Hadron Collider. I remember I was in meditation once and I just keep hearing, and it was around the eclipse. I keep hearing Hadron Collider. And when I looked it up, this is what they call CERN. And the Hadron Collider, they try to imitate that Big Bang. So I was thinking today, one, they understand that electromagnetism is part of creation. That's how we create. But I don't think they understand how it does it. And and that was in the beginning. So when they use the Hadron Collider, especially with all that energy coming into the Earth, are they trying to recreate the beginning of everything? Are they trying? That's what I'm thinking. They're trying to imitate what happens in the beginning when as we read along, we'll see what happened in the beginning, what they call the Big Bang, oh, came and interrupt the equilibrium between electromagnetism, interrupt um that equilibrium. That's what they call the Big Bang. And so chaos started, and out of the chaos, that's all everything was created. All right, so we'll see that later, but I was just thinking about that. Okay. So it says Father Mother consciousness is a powerful impersonal force. Yet it is personal for you even before you seek to make contact with it. As you evolve spiritually, and that's the goal, that's why we're here on this earth, to evolve spiritually. We have to have an idea what the source of our being is. We have to understand it and who we are. That's why we're here. We're not just be here to have a job, not just here to be mothers. We have to take care of the spiritual aspect of us. We have to take care of that part. So it says, as you evolve spiritually, you will feel it, for it is the reality of being. We will feel that Father Mother consciousness. We will feel that electromagnetism. We will feel it. It's different. And there's a lot of people I know, I felt, I didn't know it was it I felt, but I felt that thing that you can't describe. It's all love, it's all good, it's all beautiful. That's the source of our being. That's the reality of our being. That's the reality of who we truly are. That's the reality of who we came from, that Father Mother consciousness. He says it is everywhere and within everything. Father consciousness is the intelligent love which gives intelligent energy and momentum to the world of complex forms, expressed physically as electricity. And and this is it. This is what the role of Father consciousness. Father consciousness has their role. Mother consciousness has its role. And and the role of Father consciousness is to give that energy, is to give that electricity and momentum to the world of complex forms, expressed physically as electricity. And the role of Mother and the purpose of Mother consciousness is loving, intelligent, will give purpose and the impulse for survival to the individualized complex forms expressed as magnetism, bonding, and rejection. Bonding, I always say rejection. I don't know where I get the word. Bonding and repulsion. So it is the magnetism that gives us our form. And I was saying before I came into the knowledge, I was reading in the Bible, and I see if you look in the Bible, read the Bible, one says create. If you're having questions about what you hear tonight, a lot of time it says, um, our Father creates, our Father form. And I saw that and I was like, why did it say our Father create and our Father form, especially in Genesis? One create and one form. It's the same, but they have different roles. It's the same in equilibrium. None is better than none. But your mother form, your father create. Give us our forms, that magnetism give us our form, and that electricity creates us. All right. There are these things, electromagnetism, these are the universal primal impulses of all beings, of universal consciousness. And remember, we're all conscious. We all have that divine consciousness within us, not just us. Everything visible have that universal consciousness, have that energy. Your source of being. So let me start this over. These are the universal primal impulses of all being, of universal consciousness, your source of being, intelligence, and love. This is the state of being before creation, as I mentioned earlier. This is what everything was like before that Big Bang, as they call it. But we'll explain what that Big Bang is tonight as we read further. So, this is the state of being before creation. There was just universal consciousness in that stillness, in that quietness, and then that Big Bang came. This is what everything was in a state of equilibrium. Okay, so this is our topic for tonight. So it says, I want you to move again into an inner state of conscious equilibrium where all thought is stilled and your mind resides in silence. You are in the interior control. Your mind and emotions no longer divided into activity and feeling. You may feel a buildup of power within you, strength, peace, and contentment. This expressed in you in individual form is the state of being out of which came creation. And what this is saying here, this is what you feel when you meditate. This is what you should feel when you meditate. Because you're in that place of stillness and silence. And that represents the universal dimension of consciousness. And and once a thought comes in, everything cuts off. You get out of that because that's activity. That's not silence. Your thoughts. And that's what meditation forces us to do, to get our thoughts under control, because we create with our thoughts. We create with our thoughts. So Christ is saying, I want you to move again into an inner state of conscious equilibrium where all thoughts is stilled and your mind resides in silence. You are in You are in interior control. Your mind and emotions no longer divided into activity and feeling. You may feel a buildup of power within you when you do this, strength, peace, and contentment. This is expressed in you in individual form, is the state of being out of which came creation. So when you meditate and you could still your mind, no activity going on into your thoughts, and you're in that place of silence. This is the things that fill up. And this is where you get your strength. This is where you get your blessing. That is the now time. That's the place we have to find ourselves, that now time. Take no thoughts. Take no thoughts in tomorrow. Take no thoughts in what you can eat or drink. Take no thoughts of what yesterday. It is today. Just focus on what is now. What are we doing now? We can remove so much illness and so much unnecessary things in our lives because our thoughts create our reality. Our thoughts create whatever we're going through. No one is doing it. And the Bible did say prayer and meditation, not just prayer and meditation. We have to learn to still our thoughts and allow that universal consciousness to move within us. And in we doing that, it's your spiritual awareness start opening up to the spiritual realm. If we don't meditate, we can't experience all those things. And stay in a now time. That's what the Bible talk about. Take no thought. You don't need to take no thought. I provide for the birds of the air, and I can provide for you. Take no thoughts. Stay in the now time. And the now time is in a space where you quiet your mind and be in silence. Quiet your mind and that those thoughts. I know it's the hardest thing ever. It's the hardest thing ever. I know last week Christ talked about, oh, it's like we should be like what's going on in our body. Look at our heart or our kidneys. They just stay there and do what they need to do under the influence of this divine intelligence. They just do and work and do everything for us without we have to think about it. We have to think, oh, I wonder if my heart is gonna work today. We have to sit down and look at how beautiful this body is created. We never have to think about, oh, am I gonna urinate today? Huh? Is my body's gonna create enough insulin today? Is my stomach going to digest this food today? Eh? That's how we have to be. We just be. Just take no thought in whatever we have to do. Just be in silence and stillness. And in doing that, then we'll be led by the source of our being. You want to call God, whatever you call her God, your God. I know Christ in this Christ letter says, uh, we just call the source of our being by different names. That mother, father, God, that mother, father consciousness, we call him God, we call him Jehovah, we call him Yahweh, we call him Muhammad. No, do we call him not Muhammad? Allah, uh, and other names, other religions, Jehovah. We just call the same thing we're talking about here by different names. So it says, I want you to notice that the equilibrium is impossible the moment that thought is introduced. Yeah, yeah. So if you're in silence and it takes a lot of practice just to sit there, quiet your mind in silence for a long time. And I know Bill Donahue says, hold your breath for 10 seconds. And that works too. If you're in meditation, hold your breath for 10 seconds and it will quiet your mind. I don't know why, but it does. It quiet your mind. But as this is saying, when that thought is introduced, the equilibrium is impossible. You're out of it. But you could always start again. Start again. When you quiet your mind, you will see the spiritual realm and grow because you keep growing. The more you quiet your mind, the more you have strength to do it more and more, more and more. And meditation is no, you could just lay down before you go to sleep. I know sometimes I'll just lay down, quiet my mind before I get out of bed. That can be meditation, just a minute, just a minute. You get so much from it. You get a peace from it. There's a peace that comes from it, you know. That's the spiritual being we are. That's who we really are. It says, I want to realize that the universal dimension is a dimension of unformed impulses. It contains no blueprint of creation. It is a state of undivided form. That's the universal dimension of consciousness. The equilibrium, the restraint, when we say the equilibrium between father, mother consciousness or electricity, energies, and magnetism, mother, there's an equilibrium in that universal dimension that's caused that stillness and that silence, cause that silence and that stillness. So it says when he says the equilibrium, he says the restraint between opposing impulses to move about and remain bonded creates an infinite spiral of self-contained energy. The self-contained energy of mutual restraint is beyond the power of individuality to even imagine. Yeah, we can we can't even imagine that power. So that state of equilibrium where everything is restrained from moving, that's where we get our form, that's where everything comes from. It says it's the self-contained energy of mutual restraint is beyond the power of individuality to even imagine. He said, as I told you before, were individuality able to enter this universal dimension of the mutually restrained impulses of movement and bonding, that's that electricity and that magnetism, the individuality would be immediately dissolved and returned to the equilibrium of universal consciousness. And this, I read this and I'm like, this is to show us that we do not die because we're energy beings. Remember, he's not saying um, if an individual goes into that universal dimension of mutually restrained impulses where electromagnetism is mutually restrained, um, the individuality would be immediately dissolved. He doesn't say die. Remember, he doesn't say die. He say it would be dissolved and return to the equilibrium. So our ultimate death is going back to source, going back to that equilibrium in that universal dimension of electromagnetism in stillness and silence. Even though it says stillness and silence, Christ trying to let us know that it is very powerful. Our mind can't even understand it. It's very, very powerful. And yeah, so I'm saying when I read this, I'm like, this is to show us that we still stop worrying about death. It said dissolved. You dissolve your energy. You go back into that universal dimension of consciousness. You know, you go back into that dimension. Um, and you go back to that equilibrium of universal consciousness. He says, ponder on it, the unimaginable immensity of power contained within the mutual restraint of the twin impulses. And when he says twin impulses, he's talking about magnetism and he's talking about electricity. We call electricity energy. So ponder the unimaginable immensity of power contained within mutual restraint of the twin impulses in universal consciousness, which are primarily consciousness slash awareness, intent, will, and purpose, intelligence, and love. So these twin impulses, what are they? Consciousness awareness, and the intent of consciousness awareness is for us for will and purpose. And will is that divine intelligence. That's his will. That's that Father. That's that Father. Christ says when he talk about your Father in heaven, he's talking about the divine will, that divine intelligence. He didn't use mother because of where he was, that didn't see woman as equal. So that's why he says, but when he used that divine universal intelligence, when he says your Father in heaven, he's talking about that universal intelligence. And universal intelligence, that's will, and universal intelligence, that's the Father, and purpose. The purpose is, and this is also electricity, and the purpose is magnetism, and it is your mother, and that represents love. And he said, when you combine them, combine as intelligent love and loving intelligence. And the impulse of movement is electricity in equilibrium, and the impulse of bonding, repulsion is magnetism. So electricity in equilibrium with magnetism. And that's the universal dimension of consciousness. The above describes the unlimited universal dimension before the Big Bang. So this is what it was before the Big Bang. You now know that the Father, Mother, creative process and the tools of physical creation are all in a state of equilibrium within the universal dimension. But now that equilibrium is to be exploded to bring about individual form. To bring about individual form. So you know too that since the infinite eternal impulses are contained in a state of mutual restraint, these impulses are of an imaginable intensity of energy. We can just imagine that. Because everything we see with our eyes, everything in the universe comes from that. Everything comes from that. Against which your atomic energy contained within the splitting of an atom is mere a poof, an infinitesimal twitch of no importance. So he's just saying basically this mutual restraint of such a power that when we hear about splitting of an atom, and listen, I'm not gonna pretend I didn't like physics and all that growing up. But I know Bill Donahue talk about, and I didn't research this. Maybe we'll see it down the road while we're reading this, that the splitting of the atom, that's how Eve was created. That's how Eve was created. And Adam is really an atom. But that's neither here or there, but that's That's I heard Bill Donahue says that. So we'll see as we go along. Against which, okay, your atomic energy contains the splitting of an atom. So it's like in this mutual restraint, these impulses are so powerful. They could just split a atom like poof, and infinitesimal twitch of no importance. I want you to fully realize all the foregoing since your realization of what happened at the time of the Big Bang will give you a glimpse of what happened at the time of sundering of universal consciousness to permit the creation of individual form to take place. Okay, so this is going to explain um, what scientists call the Big Bang. The Big Bang. So he's gonna explain what happened. And we can just imagine because if we have these impulses, it's like father, mother together in total equilibrium, electricity, magnetism in total equilibrium. What came and disrupt that harmony? What came and disrupt that harmony? So that's how we got our form. That's how creation started taking place. And it says universal consciousness was riven. Will and purpose, father intelligence, and mother nurturing love were exploded to work independently and also jointly. Their respective tools were electricity and magnetism. Out of this, out of the explosion of the equilibrium came the great intent of self-expression. So out of this explosion, something happened. It didn't explain how, but they were there in harmony. But I guess creation wanted to take place because that's the father will that energy is to constantly create. So he wanted to create. So maybe that's how the equilibrium was interrupted. The explosion took place because it's his will. It's his will, and it's mother's will that you know what, father's gonna create. I'm gonna give it form. And this is how I think the subconscious and the subconscious works. You know, everything is universal, as above, so below. This is how we operate in our daily lives as wife and husband, or should operate in our daily lives as the father provide and bring it in, and the mother take it and make the best of it, and the mother love and supports the husband and the children, and the father will is to protect, it's all, nothing is different. We're all from that divine one. We have to stop seeing ourselves separate from our creator. This is what all this is saying to us. This is what all this is saying to us. We are not separate from our father. We are not as above, so below. Yes, in this physical realm, the gender is separated. Some in other realms, I know those high divine beings, they're together. If you look deeper into Christ, I know someone said Christ, the feminine aspect of Christ was Mary Magdalene. We call her Mary Magdalene. But there's always a masculine and feminine from before creation. From before creation, in equilibrium. No one is greater, no one is lesser. And this is why the earth is in this place right now, because that feminine gender is so suppressed. Mother Earth, remember, the earth is alive. That divine feminine has to has to come back in equilibrium with that divine masculine. See, if you look and you be like, oh, we'll see listen, look at the politicians, look in our governments, men, 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 men. And I just think the divine feminine was attacked to take this earth out of equilibrium. And so we don't understand who we truly are. This is the best way to mess with the Father. You know, the enemy of our souls, they know how these things work. They know how these things work. That divine masculine was there before creation. Masculine and feminine in equilibrium was there before creation. Okay. So, mother intelligence. Okay, where am I? Okay. So, out of the explosion of equilibrium came the great intent, that intent of self expression. Notice how we all have this I, the self expression. The universal awareness of being became the impulse of individualized I, awareness demanding self expression. Life and I-ness are synonymous in the dimension of matter. So when we talk about your life, you're talking about the I-ness. I. Life and I-ness are synonym in the dimension of matter. And this only took place after, you want to call it Big Bang, after this explosion of that equilibrium that Father, Mother, God have going on there. And it says life and I-ness are synonymous in the dimension of matter. And we are in the dimension of matter. This dimension is the dimension one. I don't know if it's the only one, but this is a dimension of matter. It says, what is the consciousness of life? What is the consciousness of life? It is Father intelligence and Mother love. Impulse of movement, impulse of purpose, nurturing survival. Seen as electricity, seen as magnetism in matter. Can you begin to imagine the explosion of consciousness, of awareness? And listen, let me go over this. So when we talk about my life and life and life, this is what you're talking about. This is what you're talking about. Oh, this is my life. What does that mean? You know? So it says life and I-ness are synonymous in the dimension of matter. They became the consciousness of matter. What is the consciousness of life? It is an Father intelligence and Mother love. Impulse of movement. This is what the tools of Father intelligence does. It's impulse of movement. He always wants to create. That's why I'm saying it's his innate nature to create, probably create that Big Bang. Probably create that Big Bang. And this is seen as electricity, or if you want to call it energy. And what's the tools? What's the nature of mother love? This is life we're talking about. These are all part of our consciousness. And life is mother love, and the impulse, it comes with the impulse of purpose, nurturing, and survival. And it is seen as magnetism in matter. So we are electromagnetic beings. And If we are electromagnetic beings, we have to create just like how creation. Listen, we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. We are this infinite thing of the great big source. And God is a God of divine order. He says, thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. And if our father and our mother create with these two impulses, we also have to create, we also create with them. Not have to, we create with these impulses. Or do we identify electricity and magnetism in our daily lives? We, as it says, we're all life is consciousness. And what does that mean? We all take our being from that the universal dimension of consciousness. Everything is conscious. Everything has the source of an aspect of our Father. You want to call him God, the source of our being. Everything has the source of our being within them. Everything is so when someone says you're conscious, you have the source of God within you. And that's what life is. So you're living and say, this is my life. If you're saying that you have to understand that you have an aspect of that divine mother and that divine father living within you. That's what it means to be conscious. All that is living within you. And everything around you is conscious. Everything of that consciousness within you, that father, mother, God, consciousness within it. And that's why or even our thoughts, even the bed, even the TV, even our cars, even the roads, even the animals, everything visible, everything unseen, everything comes, and this, if you're listening to me, everything comes from that source of equilibrium. Everything was created from it. Everything was created from that source. So don't think you're separate from God. How can you be separate from God when you were created out of that source, that father mother consciousness in a state of equilibrium, and it's the father's will to create, and this explosion happened and you came out of it. And we came out of it, and all of us came out of it. All creation came out of it. All dimensions came out of it. So we are not separate from God. So when we talk about that's consciousness. So how does electricity move in our realm? How do we understand electricity? And how do we understand magnetism? It's so electricity is represents our father, and our father will is to create, and that's how we create with our thoughts. So for us to see something manifest, we have to put it in, and we do it without even thinking. So if we want to be more aware of it, um we we think about something like, okay, we want to be healed, and we want this, say, a shoulder to heal. We think about the shoulder being healing, and we had a feeling to it. That's what that love comes in. That love comes in. That's the aspect of our mother. Both have to go together to see the manifestation, you know. So that thought, that's electricity, that's us creating as our father do. And that feeling is that love, that magnetism as as our as our mother does. And then it comes down into this I-ness, the self, the self. And so we have a conscious and a subconscious, and we've been programmed, we've been programmed in this world about by our subconscious, from we were growing up. Because listen, your subconscious doesn't ask any questions. Whatever you tell your subconscious, oh, if you see this is that's what they tell us growing, this is black, this is white, this is red. That's all programming your subconscious. And that's why we're not aware of the spiritual aspect of it unless we go into of things, unless we go deep into meditation, and unless we go in deeper of who we truly are, so we can understand the spiritual realm. Because we've been programmed just by the physical aspect of it. They know how to program. Oh, let me cause fear. Let me cause pandemic. They just put it in your subconscious. And the goal for us is to reprogram our subconscious, our subconscious. Let our subconscious know. Too long, we have tell ourselves, listen, um, you you are separate from God. No, no, you're not separate from God. You came from God. You came from your father, mother. Those are the source of your being. And when we program our subconscious, that we have to start thinking, if Father, Mother, God is the source of my being, why am I sick? Why am I struggling? Why am I poor? Why am I sad? Why can't I call on the source of my being like Christ did? And that's what Christ says, greater things than I do, you will do. Because this is why he's explaining all this, so we can understand who we truly are, you know? All right. It says, can you begin to imagine the explosion of consciousness, of awareness? To help you fractionally visualize what happened at the moment of the Big Bang, try to recall a moment when you also experienced an explosion in your consciousness. This takes place when you have set your entire being to achieve some very important goal. About to embark on your plans in a state of excited anticipation. Some trivial circumstances or insensitive person prevents you from achieving your heartfelt purpose. How would you feel? So he's for us to uh, trying to explain to us what really happened when that explosion happened. About to embark on your plans in a state of excited anticipation, some trivial circumstances or insensitive person prevents you from achieving your heartfelt purpose. How would you feel? Your concentration would be split and you would explode. Here again, I must call on my recorder to think of some examples of my meaning in human terms, for the least earthly consciousness is drawn from universal consciousness. And he's trying to explain what really happened. In earthly terms, what really happened. So he's gonna ask the recorder to give some examples of what really happened. I know scientists call it the Big Bang. He's calling it that explosion that happened out of chaos to create form, to create the universe, to create us. Okay. He said, and her example is you you are you are at the airport, excited and ready to fly for an unexpected holiday overseas. On reaching your travel bureau counter, you discover there are no documents or tickets and no record of any reservations for flights or holiday accommodation. Although you have already paid for them by the credit card, how will you feel? Crazy. You are dressed in a very expensive outfit, wining and dining important customers, and are about to clinch a big contract worth millions. The waiter drops a plate of hot casserole on your head. How will you feel? You go shopping and come out of the car park to find the wheels and doors of your car have been removed in broad daylight. How would you feel? Sympathetically, you open your purse to give a whining, crippled beggar all your silver, but the man straightens up, forcefully snatches the purse from you and runs into an athlete. How will you feel? And runs like an athlete. How would you feel? Mhm. So these are emotions that um, is just trying to explain to us what happened when that Big Bang take place, what happened when that explosion take place to give us form. So there was probably a tug, and you could understand magnetism is bonding and repulsion and something just a push and a pull and a push and a pull and just caused the explosion, the chaos. In all these instances, you would have a strong consciousness enterprise to the very front of your mind. Your head would be filled with a plan to move out and do something to achieve a certain purpose. Peacefully, your intent would be interlocked with your purpose. Yes. Therefore, in equilibrium, but note that there would be mounting tension of anticipation as you neared your goal. The greater the tension, the greater so there was a tension. The greater the tension, the greater the explosion. You would, in fact, be in the same state as universal consciousness, awareness, intent. So that's what happened to cause the Big Bang. Father intelligence in equilibrium with the mother purpose is give mother purpose to give being and form to the plan you intend to create. Being and form the plan you create. After your explosion, can you imagine the ensuing mental, emotional chaos, the inability to think straight, the thoughts which would come one after another demanding expression, none of them sensible or logical? Yeah, yeah. So this is what happened in the earth. After that explosion, yeah, just for yourself. When you're mad, you say some things you don't even mean. Yeah, some things you wouldn't say if you were calm and cool and collected. So, therefore, if you can relate your tiny, I know Christ keeps calling our consciousness tiny because we have to expand our consciousness. You know, that's what everyone keeps telling us. Raise your consciousness, raise your vibration, raise your energy. Raise it at this time and raising your consciousness, you become aware of who you truly are and about the truth of existence and about the truth of existence. Oh, my friend. Oh, sis, that's okay. You could come on if you can. I did send you the link today. I sent you the link on your cell phone. Yeah. Therefore, many of you will have wholly rearrange your thinking in regard to creation. Let me start. Therefore, if you can relate to your tiny consciousness, he calls our consciousness tiny, because we're just imagining a tiny, tiny little aspect of what creation is. Just a tiny little aspect. We can just a tiny little aspect of what consciousness is. Tiny conscious if you can relate your tiny consciousness explosion to the explosion of the heavens, you will gain some small idea of the ensuing chaos, both momentarily within the universal dimension and the aeons of time within the newly created expanse of the dimension of matter, still in its formless state. So when the Bible says in the beginning, the earth was, did it say without form or void? I think it says without form or void. The earth was without form or void. I think it says that. Therefore, many of you will have to wholly rearrange your thinking, still in the formless state. Therefore, many of you will have to wholly rearrange your thinking in regard to creation. Oh yeah, yeah. This is what I noticed. This is what I noticed. We have to rethink what we learn about creation. This was what happened. And this didn't happen overnight. I think it says it's like this take billions of years. This didn't happen overnight. But it says the dimension is still in a formless state. Yeah, I think the Bible said without form or void. Mm, yeah, see where it gets it from? So when he said day one, day six, and this is why you know when he said he rested on the seventh day, it's not a day. It's a period of time. It's not a physical day. Because these are not, there's no time. There's no time in the universe, you know? Therefore, many of you will have to wholly rearrange your thinking in regards to creation. It started out as a condition of utter chaos. The universal impulses were divided. So mother and father were divided. The mother and father was in chaos like everything else, because remember, they're not in that state of equilibrium and in stillness and silence anymore. Everything is chaotic. The universe impulses were divided. There were no blueprints to direct or control the beginning of individuality. The impulses were still without any conscious form of direction. Yeah, so electricity and magnetism just doing their thing. Those are the impulses. They were just doing their thing. There was nothing, any kind. They were natural impulses to perform certain distinct impulsive functions in consciousness, but they were not intelligently directed into specific movement or bonding by any higher directing force. They were on their own, separated and lost impulses of consciousness/awareness, able to receive impression, but there were no impressions to receive other than those of interior chaos, of movement, activity, of electricity, and bonding repulsion of magnetism. And this consciousness chaos was manifested within creation as chaos of particles. Oh, that's what Christ says. That's what Christ says when he was in the desert. All he saw was particles. Particles, particles. Just just going. Ah, was manifested within creation as chaos of particles. Within this expanse of chaos of electrical particles, however, there was the overriding awareness of I-ness, and that's individuality. And that's I-ness means individuality. So within this expanse of chaos of electrical particles, and however, there was the overriding awareness of I-ness. No matter what the chaos, the I-ness came through in the Father intent to move about, to take control, and to create. The I-ness took initial form in a positive charge of electrical energy. It became the dominant I force as a proton with its satellite of negative electric charge, whereupon Mother purpose of bonding was activated in those conditions of a positive electrical charge meeting a negative electrical charge. They took each other, as one might say, to the evolved male and female in living species and bonded. So it's that I-ness that created the bondage. Let me highlight the bonding. That I-ness helped them to come together within that chaos. And you reading this, nothing is physical, everything is energy. Everything is energy. Everything is energy, nothing. I'm telling you, we're seeing each other physical. It is not physical. We are not physical beings. You talk about those particles, that's what we are. Probably a bunch of atoms, who we really are. I would love to see a piece of skin underneath a microscope, not even a microscope, to see who we really are. So it says the I-ness, the individuality, took initial form in a positive charge of electrical energy. So this individuality, so the Father, remember the Father is is electricity, a charge went off, electric charge went off, and that individuality was created. And it became the dominant I force as a proton. So you have proton and neutron, right? In an atom. I'm thinking about an atom. Proton and neutron. And that's the positive. The proton is the positive aspect. But there has to be a negative. So it came the dominant I force. That's the Father's energy right there. Electrical energy created that I force, became the dominant I force as a proton with with its satellite of negative electric charge. So it has a negative electric charge, where upon Mother purpose, remember magnetism, Mother, bonding and repulsion. So Mother, it's looking for the Mother right now, that I-ness. Is looking for the Mother to come and bond with that proton, bonding with that proton and activate it. So whereupon Mother purpose of bonding was activated in those conditions of a positive electric charge meeting a negative electric charge. So the Mother and the magnetism, that negative electric charge bond to that I-ness, and they took each other as one, might say, of the evolved male and female in living species and bond. So when you say you're bonded, so when you say, oh, we bond together, it's that electricity and that magnetism coming together. When you see that guy out there and we took our eyes and we eyes met each other and we just bonded. Those two impulses coming together. Mother purpose of repulsion was also activated when two positive or two negative electrical charges look likely to meet and react negatively. Okay. So in all this chaos, going on, after the Big Bang, after the explosion, it's all chaos. So, father, mother was separated. Father, mother, they were separated, but they were still like together. So, father is still doing his thing. He's still creating, but he can't fully create until it comes together with mother, in magnetism. And mother is not only bonding, she's rejecting. So she's rejecting when things coming together that not supposed to be together. So before the previous paragraph, it showed us, oh, when that I-ness, that individuality, that's us, was created. Father create with his positive energy. It still have to find mother to give that negative charge, to make that creation. So, so mother's job is to bond with that net bond right there. And her job also is to repulse. Because remember, her job is bonding and repulsion. That's a woman that, we just woman. We know how to do more than one thing at the same time. So that's all we get our form by our father, by our mother, bonding with our father to create. So you see how masculine and feminine has to work together. And okay, so it's saying right here when father create and there's another positive energy want to go there, mother has to be like, no, no, no. She has to repulsing. If two negative want to go together, no, no. It has to be a positive and a negative. So mother purpose of repulsion was also activated when two positive or two negative electrical charges looks likely to meet and react negatively. She stopped it and pushed them apart, just like her evolved female mother counterpart would separate two unruly, highly charged ruffians about to engage in a fight. Yeah, yeah, that's woman for you. We're listen, we're helping the father and we just gotta be doing everything. Yeah. Bonding and repulsion. This was the only form of consciousness awareness within the chaos for a very long time. This was going on for a long time. Since time is of no consequence within the realm of matter itself, hmm, the time only becomes of importance when there occurs an Im impinging of conscious awareness between electrical charges, resulting in bonding or repulsion, a progression of adjacencies and events taking place and purpose to be fulfilled. Otherwise, time is meaningless. But if you're listening to this and time is meaningless. So he's saying only time matters. Listen, if you're gonna have two negative charge coming together, that's when time exists, or two positive charge coming together, that's when time exists. Otherwise, time is not of importance. And that's why, we need a clock to tell us what time is it. Time is no important. Only in this physical realm. All right, creation is the product of primary impulses working individually and together, making impression upon the other, fulfilling inbuilt needs imprinted within consciousness. These needs being at the onset to increase and experience self expression, leading to further separation, then to restore a sense of inner security and comfort, to be reunited within the harmony of universal consciousness. Out of this living force, for a reunited harmony of being came the male female drive for reunion to recapture the bliss which is buried in the soul consciousness. Yeah, so all this is buried in our soul consciousness. Let's highlight what creation is. Creation is. Now we see how creation is. Out of chaos, out of chaos. It was chaotic, as the Bible said. It was chaotic. I'm going to read this again. Creation is a product of primary impulses working individually and together, making impressions upon the other, fulfilling inbuilt needs imprinted within consciousness. These needs at the outset to increase the experience, self expression, leading to further separation, then to restore a sense of inner security and comfort, to be reunited within the harmony of universal consciousness. Out of this driving force for a reunited harmony of being came the male female drive for reunion to recapture the bliss which is buried in the soul of consciousness. And I always think those beautiful letters and songs of Solomon, this is what it's talking about. You know, that reunited, the two becomes one, that marriage, that union has to take place. Because it seems we're still in a state of chaos. That union between that divine masculine and that divine feminine has to take place. So you could make an analogy of the foregoing paragraph with the habit of fathers going out to work in the morning and returning, hopefully, to the comfort and reunion with family in the evening, where he regains the strength to venture forth the next morning to do battle with the world. Therefore, the process of creation therefore, the process of creation of universal self expression took billions of years within time to accomplish. See, it's not the first day, the sixth day, the seventh day. Please, let's take that out of our subconscious. It's not the first day, the sixth day, the seventh. Now, billions of years, billions, billions of years. Okay? After the Big Bang, the father-mother creative process was divided into two different energies, continually working apart and together, independent yet mutually constrained to work together, having individual characteristics of natures and different functions. Therefore, their workload is different yet indivisible. And we have to understand that. And I hope if you listen to this, we get out of, especially on these social media platforms, people get so triggered when it comes to gender. Why people get so triggered? Why why people don't think that the gender works in equilibrium? Where did we get that men, it's just as divisive as racial separation. Genders separate. Everything has to be divisive. We all come from the same source. Why is everything so divisive? Huh? Why is everything so divisive? You can't you can't say Mother God. Why not? We are his creation. If there was only Father, there would be one. God is a God of divine art. If you understand nature, there's no mistakes. If there was only a father, there wouldn't be any female. There would only be male. Why? Why there gonna be male and female and there not be father God and mother God? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. In spite of what we've been taught. And I'm not gonna bash anyone's religion, but make it make sense. Make it make sense. Oh, unworthy you think. No, everything works in equilibrium. No, woman is not your footstool. No, woman. No, we have our role. Just like in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. We all have our own role to perform. Okay. You already know that by a process of you meditation, you already know that by a process of meditation, should have fully understood the nature of the father and the nature of the mother within the equilibrium of the universal dimension. Yeah, but we all meditate a lot. Briefly, the nature of the father is to be active, creative, and perform the work of creativity. It is not also the I-ness of individualized existence. Everything living from a hornet to a hippopotamus has a strong sense of I-ness and the need to protect that I-ness. Okay. So, just what I said, the nature of the Father is to be active, is to create and to perform the work of creativity. That's the nature of a man. Let's not as women hinder what is true nature it should be, you know? And it says it is also the I-ness. It is what gives us our individualized existence. And I was thinking the other day, I was like, we always say we can't, it's that I-ness, it's that self, it's that individualized thing, it's that ego thing. And it's like we can't get rid of that. We just have to know to control it. I was thinking that the other day. So it says, breach of the nature of the Father is to be active, creative, and perform the work of creativity. It is also the I-ness of individualized existence. It gives us our individuality. Our Father gives us our individuality. So this is why you have free will. This is where free will comes in. Let us not tramp on anyone's free will. We can't force anyone to think they're their own beings. Think not even your children, but not even your partner. You can't infringe on anyone's free will. So our Father give us our individualized existence. Everything living from a hornet to a hippopotamus has a strong sense of I-ness and the need to protect that I-ness, that self. We're always protecting ourselves. We're always protecting ourselves. The nature, listen, the nature of the mother is to give form to the electrical consciousness plan initiated by Father Intelligence. by bonding to the electrical particles together. And this is how it was. You think about, listen, you, back in the day when women didn't have to, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but even now, this is what women do. Let us do what we do. You know, men wants to do what we do. Our job is to take $1 and turn it into $2. We can do that. I take $1 and we can stretch it as far to provide for a family, without interference from the masculine gender. Let us do what we do. Women, let the man do what they were created to do. Men, let the woman do what they were created to do. So we can have some peace, so we can have some prosperity, so we can have some balance in this earth. There's no one less than. We are one long. We have to get out of this less than and greater than. We all have an individual purpose. Let women do what they're supposed to do, and let men need to do what they were created to do, and women need to do what they were created to do without interference. Father and mother consciousness primary impulses are both within the equilibrium and the nature of the universal dimension. And consequently, as they create individual form, they carry out the work of the nature of the universal dimension, which is, and we read this in a previous chapter, the nature of the universal dimension is growth. We have to grow. We have to grow. And when you become more conscious, you see, oh, this realm is not growing. It is not growing. And that's why right now we're getting divine intervention. Mother Earth is getting help so she can grow. And in she growing, we have to grow. So, um, yeah, right here. Here. So, father and mother consciousness, primary impulses are both within the equilibrium. And what are primary impulses? Electricity and magnetism, and of the nature, and it is the nature of that universal dimension. And consequently, as they create individual form, as father and mother create individual form, they carry out the work of the nature of universal dimension. And the nature of universal dimension, the nature of the source of our being, the nature of the source of our being is growth, providing nutrition, nourishment, healing, protection, fulfillment of need within a consistent system of law and order survival. That's the nature of the source of our being. Whatever you want to call the source of your being, Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, that's the nature of the source of our being. Growth, providing nutrition, nourishment. Just listen, look at the babies. I remember reading this before. The babies, not just in women, in animals, they born with milk, ready, ready. So if there was no food out there, look, nutrition, nourishment, healing, healing. That's the nature of our Father, Mother God. Protection. We don't understand how much the skin protects us, or nails protect us, or hair protects us. We're not talking about other stuff other than what's up on this body. Fulfillment of need within a consistent system of law and order. God is a God of divine order. But my late Deacon Hannaford from Jamaica, oh my gosh. God is like, that's what he always says. God is a God of divine order, law and order, survival. Listen, and a lot of times God's not coming out of this divine order to give us anything. We have to understand the laws of existence. When we pray for anything, when we need something, it has to line up with this divine order. Oh, God, give me this. God, give me this and this. Anytime a prayer is answered is when it goes through that divine order, that law and order. Remember, electricity, magnetism, our thoughts, our emotions, we have free will. Remember that. We have to, we have to, everything is gender. Remember, masculine and feminine should be in equilibrium. Father and mother consciousness energies are impulses, both restrained within the universal dimension. And when they have been released from equilibrium, they powerfully perform the work of creation. Furthermore, consider the magnitude of their work within creation throughout the world. The father mother impulses prompt every level of creation, from the formation of elements to the living molecule and cell to the magnificent mammoth. They also work instinctually within parents to prompt them to unify, to conceive, bear, and rear their young. Some fathers absent themselves after the birth of their progeny. Yeah. Some fathers absent themselves after the birth of their progeny, be they eggs, puppies, or humans. These are the fathers whose sense of I-ness is greater than their inborn fathering instincts. Tell me about that part. Let me highlight that. Tell me about that part. So we know why fathers don't take care of their kids, that I-ness, that individual thing, that ego, you know? And the goal for us for the ego is to control it. It's a natural part of us. It is at this point that you must become fully aware of the meaning of impulse. You may think that this seems to be very nebulous form of creativity, but if you reflect for a while, you may eventually realize that no human or animal or insect or even plant undertakes any activity within the material dimension without an inner consciousness, a cohesion, which is an impulse. Oh, I believe that. You know, so many of us would say, oh, I felt it. I just know it. I know it within the side. It may be, it may be to turn to face the sun, to run, to eat, to work, to sleep, to go shopping, to have a baby. Always this impulse precedes the activity, even the flick of the eyelid. Furthermore, there is no impulse prompting any activity which is not directed by a purpose. Plants turn flowers and leaves to catch the rays of the sun for growth. People run to get fit, eat to satisfy hunger, work to earn a salary, sleep to escape the tension and recharge the energy, go shopping to buy food, all directed at survival and personal comfort. Therefore, the impulses are the reality behind and within all creation. And this just let us know that of ourselves we can't do nothing. There's a divine source. There's a divine source that's leading and guiding every aspect of our being. Every aspect of our being. It's like there's something that's greater than even our brain. It's even our brain is receiving impulse from somewhere else. If all matter were to return to its original form of electrical particles, the universal impulses would remain intact and would eventually give form to another creation. The impulses are forever. However, electrical particles within living matter are here today and gone tomorrow, but the soul moves on. Is this describing death? This is how when we die. Ah. The electrical particles within living matter are here today and gone tomorrow. But the soul moves on. The soul moves on. Huh? No, the soul moves on. When the electrical particles, that's what give us our form. The electrical particles give us our form. So when we die, it's the electrical particles that's gone, but our soul moves on. You think with electrical impulses in the brain. You feel with magnetic impulses in your nervous system. Wow. 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 The center and bond of electrical impulses, the center and bond, they center and bond the electrical impulses into a cohesive whole. Without the magnetic bonding in your system, you would all go, 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 no, no, no. Oh, really? All right, let me start with this. All right, what time is it? All right, I'm finishing up. So they center and bond the electrical impulses into a cohesive whole. Without the magnetic bonding in your system, you would be all go, go, and no, 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 now, and no, go, go, and no, no, no. Now is the moment to take you back to my desert experience described to you in letter 1. You may remember that when I went to the river of Jordan to be baptized by John, I was a rebel. My face set against the teaching of the Jews who stated that Jehovah punished men for their sins. Intuitively, I felt that this was a false and cruel concept and rejected it. After I was shown the truth concerning creation, I could not understand why perfect consciousness did not create perfect beings made in the image of the Creator, intelligent love. Wow, this is Christ speaking. Mm. I asked, I asked the creator, universal consciousness, why mankind endured so much suffering and evil. I was then shown very clearly that all the problem experienced by humans arose from the central point of the self. Science now calls this the ego. Mhm. It manifested itself in the personality as a driving need to defend the self from criticism or emotional physical attack, and a similar driving need to push aside other people in order to arrive first in the race of life. It is also manifested itself in the personality as a driving need to take all that was best for the self despite the opposition from others, and a similar driving need to hold on to personal possessions, be they relatives, friends, material goods, or achievement despite any opposition. I was also made to understand that without these two fundamental, eternal, undeviating impulses of creative being, there would be no creation. This is a secret of creation and the secret of existence and of individual being. Okay, so I'm going to stop here tonight. This stuff. Okay. Yeah, so Christ be like, listen, I asked the creator. I asked universal consciousness. I asked Father, Mother God, why mankind endured so much suffering and evil. Why? Hmm? That all problems, I was shown very clearly that all problems experienced by humans arose from the central point of self. Science now calls this the ego. Yeah. As a ego, it manifested itself in the personality as a driving need to defend the self from criticism. Yeah, we do that. Our emotional, physical attack. And a similar driving need to push aside other people in order to arrive first in the race of life. Oh, I know, my gosh, especially driving on the, oh my gosh, people just you're on the ramp and they're like driving to pass you on the ramp. That's that ego. It also manifested in the personality as a driving need to take all that was best for the self, despite opposition of others, and a similar driving need to hold on to personal possessions, be they relatives, friends, material goods, or achievement despite any opposition. And this is something um, like hoarders, hoarders, you know, and even some marriages too. Even if it doesn't work, that ego, we can't get rid of our ego. It's part of us, but we have to get it under control. And this is what I think when it talks about we have to crucify flesh, this is that ego. We have to let that ego line up with who we truly are. Yeah. It also manifests itself in personality, yeah, to hold on to possessions. I was also made to understand without these two fundamental, eternal, undeviating impulses of creative being, there would be no creation. And this is and the two undeviating impulsive of creative being, there would be no creation. And that's electricity and magnetism. And it tells us earlier these impulses lead us and guide us. And we think we're doing it, but we're getting in the impulses. Go to sleep, you're hungry. You know, those are the impulses we receive daily from our mother and our father. our mother and our father. You want to say mother, father, you want to say the God of our being, of my being, or some of us call we in this earth, in this realm, we have different names for the God of our being. But remember that this feminine energy, we need to um to, to recognize this feminine aspect of us. If we're gonna say Father, we please say Father, Mother God. And either you say the God of your being, but please recognize your mother. She plays an important part in your creation. Please. It's that this realm, our creation is law and order. And if feminine wasn't part of the creation, there wouldn't be any woman on earth. There wouldn't be any woman. We are a microcosm of the macrocosm. Remember that, please. Please recognize, have gratitude for our father and our mother. Have gratitude. Recognize that feminine energy. Recognize that feminine energy. All right. All right. Does that include sickness? I'm not sure, sis, what you're talking about. Does that include sickness? Okay, so thank you all. Thank you. Sis, you can email me or call me if you have any questions. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for those who's going to listen to this at a later time. Father, I honor you. Father, Mother God, I honor you. I praise your wonderful name, the source of our being. We thank you tonight. Thank you for every ear that listened and will be listened to this program at another time. Father, in you call us our small, our tiny consciousness. In our tiny consciousness, we just want to thank you for all you've done, Father, Mother God, for all you've done and all you continue to do on our behalf, and to help us navigate this realm and to understand how we can receive those divine blessings of healing and abundance and a mastering our ego, Father, so we can line up with our true divinity and who we are. Father, we pray always for those who are in lack. We pray always for those who are in need. And we put ourselves before you tonight, and we pray for the world at large, and God, that all your children eyes can be open to the truth of existence and who we really are and who our creator is. And we thank you tonight. Thank you all. Bless this ministry and bless all the subscribers. Bless my sister tonight, Father, who is listening. Father, I thank you for her always, and I thank you for her healing and her deliverance. And I pray for strength, Father, always wherever, Father, Mother God, wherever she's weak. We honor you, we praise you, and we give you thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Father, Mother God. Amen. The last paragraph, does this include sickness? For the ego, I don't see where, I wouldn't say the ego, but what you sow, you reap. But I don't think, I know it wouldn't hurt if we don't have some of those um attitudes, attitudes of the ego. But we can't get rid of our ego. We gotta let it line up, with who we truly are, you know, with who we truly are. Thank you, sis. Thank you always. Be blessed. Be blessed. Now, where did we start? 164. Okay, we'll pick up next week. God bless you all. God bless you all.